Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Sherwin Hariri, and I'm a board-certified allergist in Beverly Hills, California. This evening, I would like to speak a little bit about the Omicron coronavirus variant that has been recently detected, and the World Health Organization called it a variant of concern over the last Thanksgiving weekend. How is this Omicron different from the Delta variant? So, a lot of our patients have had multiple questions about this, and that's why I'd like to do this little video today. The Omicron variant is different from the Delta variant because it has, first of all, different mutations, but it is also more concerning at this point if we just look at the genome, the genetics of it, because it has many more mutations than the Delta variant had, about twice as many, specifically in the spike protein. And the reason that is concerning is because the therapeutic agents as well as the vaccines are targeting the S protein. So when you change that S protein, the concern is that whatever measures we have to combat this variant may not work. And that's why, there is this big concern going on. At this point, we don't know if the Omicron variant is much more serious, much more deadly, and if it causes more serious disease, but we do think it looks like it is more contagious. There are not enough data or cases at this point to know 100%, but it appears that it is more easily transmissible. In regards to a major question that comes up, do our current vaccines protect against the Omicron variant? And most likely, yes, there is definitely at least a certain degree of protection. So the pros and cons here are, we have very effective vaccines against the original variants and then also the Delta variant. And unfortunately, these vaccines were created almost 2 years ago against a virus that was pretty different at that time. And now many mutations later, which, viruses are going to mutate until the entire human population is really vaccinated. So not only are people in the United States, but the entire world needs to be vaccinated. And I believe we have about 70% of the US population vaccinated at this point, and about only 50+% of most other countries. So that's why these mutations are continuing to happen. Now, there's two ways of immune protection, right? So there are antibodies and then there's cellular immunity. And so humoral immunity and cellular immunity. And cellular immunity is different from the humoral immunity. The humoral immunity are the antibodies that are created to neutralize the virus, right? And those antibodies, first of all, may not be as effective against new variants. And that's also what was the concern with the Delta variant initially. That's one. And two, those antibodies also will, over time, you'll have fewer and fewer antibodies. And that's why we recommended the booster to get more antibodies. Those are the B cells or the humoral immune system. The second arm of the immune system are the cellular immune system features, and those are the memory T cells, T as in Tom. And so we really think that once you've been inoculated with the vaccine, or you've had a natural infection, if you have a healthy immune system, you should also make those T cells, right? And so if you're vaccinated, then you should have some cellular immunity and you shouldn't get as sick. At Cedars-Sinai, we actually have a test where we can test for the T cells against the SARS-CoV-2, and you could actually have your antibodies tested, right, against after getting the vaccine to see if you have antibodies, and you can also get a test to see if you have T cells against SARS-CoV-2. But that's why we think that at this point, the best way to protect yourself is to get vaccinated. I mean, closing travel from certain countries may not work at this point anymore, as most experts believe that we probably already have the Omicron variant within the United States. Also, because a lot of these cases in Israel and Belgium and other countries were travel related. So we have obviously a lot of travel going in and outside of the country, being a bigger country also. So it's very likely we do have this mutation or variant already in the United States. So restricting travel may delay things and may help our healthcare system prepare. But the best way to fight this new variant and future new variants is to get vaccinated. Again, as an allergist, immunologist, I get a lot of consults regarding this vaccine, and thus far, about 1 year later, I know I got my vaccine right around Christmas time last year. We have not had any long-term data, any data on long-term consequences. There's always a risk with anything you do. There are always slight risks with the vaccine. Some people have had allergic reactions. Some people have had some slight side effects. Myocarditis has been reported, but most of these side effects that were reported with the vaccine have been reported at a much higher rate with COVID itself, with natural infection itself. Higher rate of myocarditis, higher rate of strokes or blood clots, higher rates of even allergic type reactions and rashes. So the vaccine can cause that, but COVID itself can cause it as well, and is typically more severe and lasts longer in our long hauler COVID patients. So again, we are still, believe it or not, in a pandemic. Seems and feels again like we're in the middle of a pandemic. And now with this new variant, which is the lesser of the two evils? So is it the vaccine or is it getting COVID? And with these new variants, I wouldn't want to take a risk. Another question that is coming up a lot with my patients is, should I get the booster and which one? As you know, the CDC approved mixing and matching vaccines. So I personally got the Pfizer vaccines, which was offered at Cedars about a year ago. And then I boosted myself at the time when I got it, which is about 2 months ago-ish, with Moderna, because there were some initial studies, I believe from the Mayo Clinic, showing more protection at the time against the Delta variant. This can change. But, again, with the new variant, we don't really know which vaccine will be more protective, if at all. But we do think that there should be some protection, and it is the most effective step we can take. So I highly recommend you to get the booster vaccine if your physician agrees, and if you did not have any side effects from getting the first two vaccines, again, which the risk is very low. So which one? If you got Pfizer, you can get Moderna this time. The booster dose is half the dose for Moderna, or you can get a third dose of Pfizer, which is again the same dose as the initial two you got. If you got the J&J vaccine, then there seems to be some benefit, more immunogenicity, more protection if you go after J&J and get one of the mRNA vaccines. If you are getting ready for some celebrations and holiday gatherings, which obviously if you're fully vaccinated, cautiously is recommended with rapid testing on the day of the gathering. But with Christmas coming up and other holidays, it is important to know which holiday you are going to be celebrating with large crowds, and therefore you should try to get your booster about 2 weeks before that, those gatherings. Or if you're traveling, of course, you should get your booster at least 2 weeks before traveling. If you have a lot of pre-existing conditions, if you're older, if you have immune deficiencies, diabetes, heart disease, a history of cancer and chemotherapy, I recommend against traveling at this point and holding off traveling until we have more information on this new variant. Patients say, oh, it's just another variant. We're going to get a lot of variants. This is just political, or this is just like interesting news again. But, are we going to get new variants? Yes, until the entire, again, human population is vaccinated, or the very, very large majority, we will continue to get variants. And some of these variants, even the Omicron, might not be as serious as we think at this point, but it does look like it's very much different. So there's a lot of mutations, and that is concerning for possible problems with being more contagious and potentially, hopefully not, but potentially also more deadly. But at this point, we don't know if that is true. Another thing that is coming up a lot is, well, if I had a reaction to the first two vaccines, right, is it safe for me to get the vaccine? So this has to be evaluated by an allergist, immunologist, or at least your primary care physician, but it depends on what type of reaction you had. So if you had immune reactions where you had normal constitutional symptoms, so symptoms that you expect with getting a vaccine, symptoms that are almost healthy because they show that your immune system is actually kicking in, fevers, body aches, fatigue, things like that, then it's safe to get the next dose of your vaccine or your booster. But if you got severe allergic reactions, anaphylaxis, significant, hives, lip swelling, and things like that, then you still may be able to get the vaccine. And we have given the vaccine to many patients who had those symptoms. However, at that point, you may have to be pre-medicated, and you do have to consult with your physician and preferably a board-certified allergist. Another reason to get vaccinated is that, some of the antiviral medications that we were going to see getting approved by the FDA and the CDC don't seem to be as effective as expected. And so, again, the vaccine at this point is our biggest hope, and also at the global level and national level and global level is our only hope to stop these mutations from happening, and hopefully no superbug will form from this horrible disease.